It's Tuesday, December 26th. I'm Geoff Schwartz. This is Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You. We are live on your favorite platform of choice. Also, thank you for listening. Please subscribe and rate and review. We love to get your feedback when you listen to this show. We're brought to you by Prize Picks, a skill-based real money daily fantasy sports game. Go to Prize Picks and use code GSSY for a first deposit match up to $100. You pick 2 to 6 players if they will go more or less in your Prize Picks projection. You win for 25 times your money on any entry. And because of the holiday, we are taping on a Tuesday, not a Monday. So we're going to cover Thursday Night Football for our Prize Picks. At the end of the show, I will give you what I think will happen on Thursday night between the Jets and the Browns. Gabe, how was your holiday? How was your Christmas? Your weekend of watching football? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. It was a nice time all around. Family enjoyed Christmas, enjoyed some football. But I have to ask you, Geoff.
Yes.
You have this tradition in your family that,
Yeah.
and the whole time I've known you, this has mesmerized me. For the newer listeners, Geoff buys a very large and ornate Christmas tree and enjoys it for however long, but literally on Christmas every year, his wife, usually by herself, drags that thing out to the curb to be taken away. And this year, I guess she was away. So what's the status of your Christmas tree?
Oh, it's on the side of the road. So
It's already out there.
yeah. Yeah. So yes. Okay. So my wife, for those who are unaware, we are Jewish. She's not Jewish per se, but I'm Jewish. The kids are Jewish. The kids go to Hebrew school. They're going to be bar bat mitzvahed. My wife has done an amazing job of accepting Judaism. She's fantastic when it comes to Judaism. So the Christmas tree for us and for her is more about like the holiday spirit than it is celebrating Christmas. Our kids will get a gift at most on Christmas. The big gifts happen during Hanukkah, and this year they are out of town. So they're in Whistler. They're skiing. They're actually flying back home right now. Hope to see them tonight if everything goes on time. And she texted me yesterday in the morning. The first thing she said to me was, "Good morning. Take my tree down, please." So I took the tree down. It's a 13-foot tree, Gabe. It took a long time to get the ornaments off of it, and then the lights. At one point, I was pulling the light, like trying to pull the rope light through, and just snapped in half. I just was so angry, full sweat. The funny part about the tree yesterday, though, was not that I took it down myself. So a friend of hers went on the trip with her, left her car here. Her boyfriend is a police officer, and he came to pick up the car keys to take her car back home so they can have her car tonight when they get home. And he rolled up with a rookie in his car, and I was taking the tree out when he rolled up. So this rookie who does not know me at all, knows nothing about me, watched me pull out a 13-foot Christmas tree at 10 o'clock on Christmas morning. And I actually had to have him move because he was in the way of me pulling out the tree completely to the side of the road. So I'm sure that rookie went back to tell his wife's significant other a great story about how he went to someone's house, dropped his partner off, and the poor soul was dragging the tree out of the house. So it's out. I cleaned the house. The house looks good. My wife gets home tonight. I hope she's happy with the way I clean. It's just what she is, man. She wants cleanliness. It's just having something in the house for that long really bothers her. And so, she's the tree is no longer here.
Well, I guess my question to you then, it sounds like quite a process doing it by yourself. What lasted longer or what got bounced faster yesterday? Your tree, that process, or Brock Purdy going from MVP favorite to, a bum? What
So,
took more time? Because the
so it
Brock
took
Purdy
me
narrative switched pretty quick.
it took me 2 hours basically to take the tree out and do
Um,
everything else.
yeah,
And Brock Purdy was no longer the MVP by his third throw. So I would say
I would say
Brock
that's
Purdy
right.
was probably, yeah, yeah.
Well, he got dragged out on Christmas Day. We'll go back to him. And for me, the point of this show is to sort of summarize all the most absurd takes I can find, or just the narratives that exist out there in sports media, and then have you kind of make sense of them. The MVP roller coaster of the last couple of weeks has been a lot of people showing their ass, excuse my language, and
Yes.
totally illogical and rushed conversation that you're going to help me sort through. But first, before we get to the good teams, we have to talk about the worst good team or the best bad team in the NFL right now, and that's your Chiefs. Another
Oh, it's bad.
disgusting loss. I don't even have much to say because anyone listening clearly watched. What the hell is with the Chiefs, man? What's going on? Full panic button. It's not funny
Gabe,
anymore.
They can turn it around, Gabe. We can do it. No, there's no chance. By the way, the defense is giving up 17.7 points per game, second in the NFL. Defense
That's
gave up
great.
6 points yesterday and they lost. The problem is the offense is just atrocious. So here's what's
Your
happening on
offense
offense.
can't give up 14 points. You're supposed to score 28 points a game, not give up 14.
Okay, so there's many things I think are happening all at once. Let's start with the offensive line. Pat does not trust his tackles. And the offensive line did not play well in general yesterday. It was not a great showing for that offensive line. They put it in the second half, but Pat doesn't trust his tackles. And here's what's happening at the wide receiver position. So they're not as talented as they need to be, just physically gifted. They're just not. They can't defeat man coverage and can't go deep. So no one's fearful of them.
Okay.
And they do not understand. I'll put it this way. They have a really bad lack of awareness. If you were to rank sort of like field awareness of wide receiving cores, they might be 32nd, Gabe. They have no feel for a zone defense. Yesterday, Pat almost threw the interception, right? The one that the guy dove and it hit the ground. That's because MVS just sort of like casually jogged towards Mahomes when a guy was already right there. Like just no awareness that a guy was standing and Watson was open right there. He just casually just walked over, stopped, and this guy dove and tried to intercept the ball. They just don't have awareness, Gabe. And where that manifests itself is against zone coverage, right? So against zone coverage, Mahomes likes his guys. Look, there's called routes, obviously, but he wants to throw the ball to a specific place in the zone. You have to learn what that is with Mahomes. No one knows it besides Travis Kelce. That's it. And no one seems to figure it out. On top of that, they don't get lined up correctly. The plays weren't coming in fast enough yesterday. So add all of this together and say, Mahomes, go do it. Like he has no confidence in this offense right now, Gabe. Rashee Rice is going to be good, but obviously not good enough to sort of change the fortunes of this offense right now. It's just it's everything bad about an offense all happening at once. And then Mahomes just trying to will himself into making it work. He doesn't take the easy throw because he doesn't trust anybody. If he does trust someone, that they drop they drop the ball or they don't come back to the ball. Even the interception, the pick six. Watson has to come back to the ball. You don't just like run, stop, and fade away from the quarterback. You put your foot in the ground and come right back to the ball. He didn't do any of that. And so they're just in a bad place right now. There's no fix. Look, the defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl, but the offense is not. And there's no fix for it, Gabe. It's not like they're going to magically show up against Buffalo in the wild card round and be good all of a sudden. Tony Romo yesterday kept saying, like, the Chiefs might have to play a road game. I'm like, Tony, they might not win their first playoff game. What are you talking about? There's no faith in them doing that right now. Romo, by the way, I don't listen to a lot of commentary. At times, you're not getting much from Romo, are you? As far as like what's happening during the game. You're getting a lot of noises.
Yeah, I think that trick he used to pull where he'd predict the play and then the gravelly voice. I think those two things have kind of worn off, and now he's got to do the job. And I think he's just the same as a lot of guys who do the job.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce and Mahomes are obviously very frustrated. I see the take of the Taylor Swift thing. It's not Taylor Swift, but let's talk about Travis Kelce because I think it's important. He's 34, right? He entered this season with an injury. Remember, he got hurt in training camp right before the Lions game.
Yep.
And sort of never looked the same this year. He's just a step slower. That's normal for being 34 years old. At some point, you'd be a step slower. I remember in the draft process, I had talked about heading into the draft, the Chiefs should target a tight end. It was a very tight end heavy draft class. They could afford to do that, I feel like. They kind of missed their window now. And so Travis Kelce, tad slower, getting double teamed now because why would you double team anyone else on the Chiefs offense? No one else can get open. And just so this perpetual thing keeps going, and they just can't score points.
Okay, so you alluded to one of the takes out there, which is the curse of Taylor Swift. So we're throwing that out. You've acknowledged head on that Travis Kelce, separate of his girlfriend or whatever she is not quite the player he's been historically for Pat. Maybe he will be again in the playoffs, but he hasn't been most of the season. So then there's one other theory or take or idea out there that I want to bounce off you, and I don't know how I feel about it. But a lot of people I see posting jokes about Eric Bieniemy sort of getting the last laugh. And you mentioned plays not being called in at the right time, guys not really knowing where to run to give Pat what he's looking for. That feels like you're saying coaching to me. Do they miss Eric Bieniemy?
That's a good question. He's not getting the last laugh. I mean, look at the Commanders. He's going to get fired. So I don't know if the last laugh is that.
He's going to get fired?
Well, the Stats will get fired. I mean, he might keep a job as a head coach, but it's not going to be good in Washington. I think where they miss Eric Bieniemy is a couple things. I don't think it's play calling. They did the stupid play calls last year too. That trick play was just the dumbest thing of all time. It's an Andy Reid thing year in and year out. It seems like they miss Eric Bieniemy because he held players accountable. Mm-hmm. They're missing accountability. When you can't line up correctly, when the second play of the game is a bust, you're not preparing correctly. You're not being held accountable. And I think that's a huge problem for the Chiefs right now. And that's where they miss Eric Bieniemy. They miss, in my opinion, his accountability, his ability to get after guys, to force them to want to do the right thing. And they're missing that big time right now.
Well, that sets up another point I wanted to make. Again, I'm sort of the guy who just watches the internet. You watch, the All 22. It seems like there's a lot more look at Pat freaking out, or look at the guys disagreeing on the sidelines, or listen to this thing we heard, that shows that they're not on the same page. It always used to be the opposite. It always used to be, look at these magicians who just telepathically coordinate with each other. Yeah. And now every little thing that Pat, every frustration he has is amplified. And I wonder if all the reporting done on Eric Bieniemy was like, he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of riding people. He's kind of interfering with what's working. Yeah. But maybe Pat just needed a bad guy. And Pat had never lost his cool ever. And now it's like 5 times a game.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, he's losing his cool because guys are not doing what they're supposed to. Like, they can't line up correctly. Like, that would drive, eventually after 17 weeks of this, you drive you crazy too. Yeah, maybe they're missing the bad guy, and that's Eric Bieniemy, again, cussing guys out. Look, Mahomes talking to his offensive line is very normal. That's like normal. The thing about him saying, I think you caught him saying like give me the freaking play. So the way the Chiefs typically have worked, and I don't know if it's the same way this year, under Eric Bieniemy, this is why everyone thought Eric Bieniemy was calling the plays, right, Gabe? Because he was physically calling the plays into Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid would call the play. Eric Bieniemy would radio the play into the quarterback. Now, I believe that's Matt Nagy's job to do. I don't know why it's taking so long. So again, that's like striking against Matt Nagy. It seems very clear they need the accountability of Eric Bieniemy, and they're missing that this season. The play calls to me are the same. Again, it looks like Andy Reid's offense out there, right? The dumb trick plays when no one needs them. The failure to try to establish the run at any point, any game. We joke sometimes like that's a Drew game plan. Like it's Andy Reid's alter ego when he has terrible game plans. We call it the Drew games. That was definitely a Drew game. Game plan was atrocious. But of course, how do you call plays though when you don't trust any wide receivers, your offensive line to protect, right? Like, I mean, it's hard to do those things. So yeah, look, Mahomes showing emotion, I think, is actually nice. It looks like he cares. Like he cares. And you know me, Gabe, I've never knocked anyone for showing emotion. I've never knocked anyone for showing emotion. My dog right now is showing a lot of emotion. Dude, I did 6 hours of radio so far today. Guy didn't make a peep for 6 hours. As soon as I do a live podcast where the camera's on me, dude's like going crazy right now. Just biting everything.
You got the little training device there in your hand? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Give him a little buzz every now and then?
Well, it's for when he bites things he shouldn't bite. They're a little land shark.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not for the commands. He's trying to eat his leash right now.
Well, it seems like Andy Reid needs the same kind of device or same kind of training technique because the team's all over the place, just like this dog of yours. Aiden O'Connell, who I'd prefer not even know who he is, but 3 quarters without a completion wins the game. He didn't
complete a single pass. It was insane, bro. He didn't complete a single pass outside of the first quarter, and the Chiefs lost the game. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to talk about this game, and none of them are good for the Chiefs.
Okay, well, so let's talk about the other side of it. Although I think we save time here. Another take out there. You got to hire Antonio Pierce. And I think that for stuff you and I are not going to get into, people have a lot of theories about why he would or wouldn't be given the job full time instead of interim. But he has won a few games that he shouldn't have won. The players do seem to care, and they surely didn't under the previous administration. Is Antonio Pierce the right fit in Oakland? And I guess, better question, who cares? Does it matter? Uh-oh, I lost Geoff's mic.
Sorry,
Which means,
I'm here.
Does it matter? Antonio Pierce is playing better ball?
Here's the thing about this. He's doing a great job. Absolutely great job. The problem is that interim coaches have transitioned to full-time head coaches have not had a successful run in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's able to be the one who breaks that trend. I don't know, but clearly there's been a kind of a history of this not going well, and I don't know if he's the one that's going to break the trend. I think he's coached really well, but how is he different than anyone else in that same situation?
Well, I certainly have no idea, but I mean, Antonio Pierce has been a known commodity in my football life for 20 plus years at this point, and he's winning games he shouldn't win with a pretty bad team. So I'd give him the job and see what happens. Players seem to like him. Give him a real quarterback. Maybe he actually makes him a playoff team next year. We'll find out in the offseason. I'm sure they'll screw it up. I'm sure they'll hire some dumb, coordinator from some team, some geek who used to be behind a real genius will end up with the job. We'll find out. Let's talk about good teams. So the Ravens last night put on a show. Sports media, Twitter, I think probably drunk on, well, maybe alcohol, but turkey and ham and other things too. Just started going crazy with the MVP debate. And it basically went from you're nuts if you don't give it to Brock Purdy to you're nuts if you do give it to Brock Purdy to it was Lamar all along, and everyone is a jerk for not noticing it. And I'm getting tired of the ups and downs, and Dak Prescott was woven into the middle of all that. Forget about MVP for a second. What did we learn about the Niners last night, beyond the fact that Brock Purdy will make mistakes?
I think we learned that Niners don't have one way to win, but it's sort of clear that if they get behind, they're not built to come back from a deficit in the fourth quarter. It's not what they are. It's not who they've been, and this is not who they're going to be. And so if they get behind in games, they're in a little bit of trouble. It's not how they're built to come back. The injuries, we've talked about this before, like they're not a deep team. So injuries can really cost them, right? Trent Williams going out cost them. Brock Purdy with a stinger, obviously, if any quarterback gets hurt, it kind of cost them. They're just in a lot of trouble right now when it comes to being able to come from behind. Kyle Shanahan's 0-38 now when trailing the fourth quarter by 8 points or more. Now, to be fair, 7% of the time you win those games, so it's not like he needs to win 2 of those to be more like league average. But it's kind of a repeated pattern now of not being able to do that in those moments. And also, too, look, last night the tip passes. I mean, like those are. It doesn't happen every game. Like the penalty, the turnovers really aren't always on the quarterback in the situation, Gabe. So I don't know how much it's on Purdy, but again, the lack of ability to kind of come back in that game, I think really is the biggest concern I have for them right now.
Yeah, I think the number of balls that got batted around and just landed perfectly in Ravens' hands, sort of, that's the correction, to the mean. He'd been very, very lucky all season long not to turn the ball over on maybe throws that could have been picked. Not all of these were terrible passes, but 4 of them result in picks. They lose. Okay, so then let's talk about the Ravens and Lamar. So, all of a sudden, mid-game, the betting markets have him suddenly become the MVP favorite. He's been on a real run the last several games. It's hard to deny that his team looks like the most well-rounded, and so he deserves a lot of credit for that. But are we getting a little carried away with just like every quarter, it feels like, of every weekend we change our MVP leader? Is he really the most valuable player, or is this just a very good team with a pretty good quarterback? Geoff, you're muted again. You're dodging my question. I don't like how you keep ignoring me.
Hey, how about this? Let's take a short break real quick. I got to get rid of this 4-legged friend, and then we'll come back and answer the question. This guy's bothering me. I'll be back in a second. We'll take our
Wow.
break now, and then I'll be back, Gabe. How about that?
That sounds great. Let's take a quick break.
Okay,
We'll be right back.
Be right back. All right, Gabe. Sorry about that. The dog has done great today. We've had 6 hours of radio and no problems today. No problem for 6 hours. Hour 7 of podcast. That's like a lunatic. It stopped raining at least, so he can go run outside. He's gonna be a mess when he comes back inside. I don't even care. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Okay, so the reason why the MVP race fluctuates every 5 seconds is because those markets can change on a whim, right? Like they're not markets set in Vegas. They're typically offshore markets, and they change if me and you talk about it and we have a wager on some side or whatnot. The thing about it, though, is that there's not a favorite. Like, there's not a guy where you're like, yep, that's him. Last year it was Jalen Hurts, so he got hurt, then Patrick Mahomes. Next week it could be Tua, for all we know, or Dak Prescott. There's no one who is standing above and beyond. I will say, after watching last night, it does feel like Lamar Jackson played like the MVP. If you're looking for an MVP in that game, it was Lamar Jackson. What if the Ravens play the Dolphins this weekend and he doesn't play well? Is Tua the MVP? Is it back to Brock Purdy? Is it Dak Prescott who might beat the Lions this weekend? Like, there's no great answer this year for MVP. Maybe it's McCaffrey. Maybe it's Tyreek Hill. I don't know. But that's why every game or every quarter feels like the odds shift.
Okay, but it's Tyreek Hill. So we could just
have
save time. It's Tyreek Hill.
I have a huge bet on Tyreek Hill to win the MVP. I hope he does win the MVP. That'd be fantastic for me.
I mean, he's the most important part in the most functional unit in football right now, who are having success. And the team he's not on are struggling precisely because he's not there. They used to be world beaters. Now they're crap. Like in every metric, hard or soft sort of subjective skills here, he is the guy. And we're only ignoring it because he plays the wrong position. But like all these quarterbacks are B+ quarterbacks who have good weeks and bad weeks. Like every one of those guys you just named would be in the second tier of quarterbacks in this league at best.
Yes. Here's the thing about the non-quarterback MVP part of this, Gabe, is that we've seen to win the MVP as a non-quarterback, is typically a running back, right? Mm-hmm. You have to do something extraordinary, right? Rush for almost the record. LaDainian Tomlinson have X amount of touchdowns. He broke the record. Right? Sean Alexander, 2,000 yards. If Tyreek Hill gets to 2,000 yards, he probably wins this. But he's got 2 games to do that, and the 2 games are against the Ravens and the Bills. He is at 1,600 yards right now. If he gets 400 yards, essentially, in the last 2 games, Gabe, yeah, he probably wins MVP, because that means the Dolphins, most likely, are the 1 seed, right? Like, they've done – so he certainly has the ability to make this happen, But the reason why we're still talking about this is because no one has emerged. I mean, coach of the year. Who's coach of the year? To me,
Kevin Stefanski.
it was Kyle Shanahan before this game. It probably is Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's going to win, I think, even though I don't think he should. Stefanski's absolutely win coach of the year. What he's done with Joe Flacco is taking the Browns to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They still have a chance for the 1 seed right now? Mm-hmm. There's 3 teams in the AFC have a chance for 1 seed. Ravens, Dolphins, Browns. Chiefs are out of it with the loss yesterday. So Stefanski's done an incredible job of keeping the Browns afloat and getting them to win.
Yeah, well, so there's a time saver. It should be him. It should be Tyreek Hill. Back to Lamar, though, who I guess now is the front runner, and I got no issue with it. Good for him. I like Lamar Jackson. Remember, the whole offseason was about where's this guy going to go? Do the Ravens value him? Why aren't more teams interested in sort of that sign and trade setup? Refresh our memories on how that was all meant to work. And the take I keep seeing is everyone's so dumb for passing on him. It wasn't quite that simple, right? Like, it would have cost you a lot to go get Lamar Jackson. And yes, he's playing really well right now, but he's also had some bad stretches. So let's not rewrite history, right? Like, chill for a second on the Lamar should have been somewhere else takes.
It's a very easy take to have when the Falcons stink and the Commanders stink. It's just easy to have today, right? This if they had lost, do we see this take out today? No, right, Gabe? No. So it's just to get clicks, just to get a reaction. We talked about this for months and months and months. That the price of Lamar Jackson, paying Lamar Jackson, teams were not sure because guess what? He had finished the last 2 years hurt. He didn't finish the last 2 years. Teams were not trading all those assets for a player who had not stayed healthy. So this is not, look, this is just, it's Twitter at its finest, right? X at its finest. It's just a bunch of people looking for clicks, man. That's all it is.
Okay, that's a time saver. But let me ask you this. Maybe I'm just looking for clicks. It's not a minor statistic at this point how good Lamar Jackson is against the NFC. He's pretty good against the AFC. He's a winner.
20-1 now.
Yeah. So if he can get to the Super Bowl, seems like he's going to win it. You know?
Yeah, right.
Like, what's going on, though? Right? Why is he so much better against the NFC? It's not just a scheduling snafu of playing like weaker teams from another conference. He's playing the best teams.
Well, I think he's such a unique player that you can't prepare for him, right? So, a typical schedule, you play, an NFC team once every 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you might play them because of the new schedule with the crossover game, you might play them more frequently, right? But in general, you play once every 4 years. And if you see Lamar Jackson once every 4 years, hard to defend Lamar Jackson, right? So that's part of it, Gabe. It's like it's just hard to do that. It's hard to prepare for him. There's no one like him in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about the team that is preparing for him right now. A team we just talked about. The Dolphins and Ravens play each other this Sunday in Baltimore. So weather could be an issue. This is looking more and more like the AFC Conference Championship, preview. But I don't know how they prepare for one another, and I am not smart enough to know how these teams actually match up. They both seem pretty balanced. I'd say Miami a little heavier on the offense than the defense, but solid enough. How do you like this game? What do you expect to see?
It's a fun game, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious what the weather's going to be like. Like, I want to see two outside again in the elements. It does feel like the being able to beat the Cowboys the way the Dolphins did, which is not your A game offensively, is a really big confidence boost for that team.
Yes.
Their defense has been outstanding since Jalen Ramsey returned. So the defense is playing Super Bowl, in my opinion, Super Bowl caliber. Like, again, we talk about this all the time. If your offense is the Dolphins, you need like a league average defense. That's all you need, right? So they won this game against the Cowboys without playing their A game on offense. And it should give them a lot of confidence. The Ravens are on a short week now. They fly all the way back from San Francisco, right? On a short week. And to play the Dolphins. So I just it's be a fun game. I lean, I guess, slightly Ravens right now, the way they're playing, but that could be very reactionary off Monday Night Football. The line is 3. I think I would lean Dolphins +3 at the moment, but what a fun game, man. It's going to be a great game.
Let me ask you this, really inside sort of locker room stuff. I think I heard and believe that if you have to play on a holiday, so now in the NFL you can play on Christmas. Does coach usually give you your Christmas the next day? So like how does the schedule work for the Ravens coming off a late night on Christmas? Today is Tuesday if you're watching live. How's their week structured, and could that like set them back even more than a usual Monday night game?
Well, they'll get Tuesday off, no
Right.
matter what, whether Christmas or not. And then, so today's their Christmas, and they go back
Right,
to
but
work
that's what I'm saying.
tomorrow.
Like, isn't this more of like as a former player, like if you're celebrating the big holiday, Christmas today, isn't that like a little bit harder to recover from and be ready for practice tomorrow than just an average Tuesday off like the NFL always gives?
No, just remember too, this time of year, you're not practicing so much as you're just sort of walking through and mentally taking reps.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of, I think, where they're at. I don't think it's a concern. Put it like that.
So the fact that like I and most of our audience probably feels like crap today after what we did to ourselves the last 2 days, you're saying that's not actually a concern for an NFL player.
I think being beat up is a concern for an NFL player this time of year, but not the idea that it's a holiday. They're spending today opening up presents. No,
I was thinking about the eating and the drinking, but all right, fair enough.
I
Let's
mean, but they probably eat and drink. I mean, anyways, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, I guess we're talking
Regardless
about a
of
group of guys.
holiday.
I mean, we watched Tyreek Hill walk into a stadium with McDonald's. We know how much you were able to eat in a game week when in your playing days, so maybe this isn't a concern. One thing I don't think we talked enough about, I heard our buddy Colin Cowherd talking about it today, but I didn't think I heard enough about it going in. Uh, the Cowboys line is banged up. We've all sort of criticized the Cowboys
Yeah.
deservedly when they lose games that would prove they're good and they aren't. But like talk about their line and in general the top teams, the health of their lines and how that's impacting things.
So, did you send that tweet over to our text thread about the Chiefs, about that guy that had the metric for offensive lines? Was that
It wasn't me.
your text?
No, that
Um,
sounds like something I would not do.
so the offensive line thing is interesting. So I saw a tweet from here it is right here. This guy named I'm gonna give him a shot. Mackenzie Rivers. How about this? About offensive line play. Ready? With the Chiefs losing a sixth game, they clinched the under win total of 11.5. That means at pregame now, that's his company, I believe. The pregame now offensive line continue. What's that? Continuity system? I can't even say that word.
Continuity?
There you go. Continuity. Yeah, sure. Continuity. Well, I can't. It's shocking to have a podcast. I mean, they fade teams that had above average offensive lines that had significant turnover in the offseason. They improved to 24-2, fading teams that lose offensive linemen since 2016.
That's good.
So that matters because when the Cowboys lose Tyron Smith,
Yeah.
it's a big problem. It's been for years. Last year corrected itself a tiny bit, but it was back in a big way for the Dolphins game. Like they missed him a lot. The left tackle that was in there had a lot of blown assignments, didn't play very well. They need him back in a big way.
Yeah, it just seems like it's after the fact, it's always the thing everyone's like, well, obviously, how are they supposed to win without that guy? But we never spend as much time pregame just saying, like, this is going to be a disaster for the Cowboys. And Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott are not going to be able to do what they like to do because the best player on the team is out. We just never say it ahead of the game. I don't know why.
I mean, I use that specifically for the Cowboys to handicap them. Like it matters for the Cowboys. They've had this problem for years now.
Yeah.
They almost overcame it though.
We took a break earlier, so let's keep rolling here. I got a quick one for you. Baker and Trevor Lawrence, they play each other. Baker wins. Here's my thought. The media, I guess we're part of it. You certainly are.
Media.
Yeah. But the group of people out there who talk about sports for a living seem, on balance, to want to see Baker fail. The narrative is always that, like, there's something wrong with Baker and he's not a winner. And the exact opposite is true of Trevor Lawrence. No matter what he does, next game out, next season out, that guy's going to be awesome. Just you wait and see. I think we've seen enough. Like, we have this backwards. Baker Mayfield is a winner. Trevor Lawrence is not. Why are we still debating this?
Well, I don't know if my conclusion that game was that Trevor Lawrence is a loser and Baker Mayfield's a winner. I mean,
I
Trevor
didn't
Lawrence
say he
won
was a
lot of games
loser.
in
He's
college.
fine. He's fine.
I think the takeaway is Baker Mayfield sort of improved. He's gotten better this season. I'm not sure anyone's rooting for him to fail. I just think a lot of us thought he wasn't good enough to be drafted first overall. Who's rooting for him to fail now? I don't think anyone cares about.
We spent like 2 seasons talking about how he was the only thing holding back
because
the Browns. Wherever he went, we criticized how could they possibly want him there.
He wasn't very good. He's much better this season in Tampa Bay. Like that's part of it too. He's played better, Gabe. He's the first pick overall. The expectations are he's supposed to be a Hall of Fame type player. He's clearly not.
Okay, and Trevor Lawrence loses a lot of games that he shouldn't lose. And then we have ready excuses. We always have excuses for him. And it's always, well, next year, that's because the ankle. Oh, that's because new coach. Oh, that's because lack of weapons. Like, what? I got nothing against Trevor Lawrence. He seems fine. But, like, I thought he was supposed to be the MVP this year. What are we doing? Keeps on losing games.
But he hasn't played well. No debate for me on that one. Has not played well. Has not lived up to expectations. Absolutely not.
All right. Here's one for you. More takes. This one's from me. Bit of sarcasm, though. Bill Belichick is currently winning games to cost the Pats the elite QB that they could get if he did the right thing and tanked, because Bill Belichick knows he's leaving, because Bill Belichick is always playing 9D chess. He's 1 to 7 moves ahead of us at all times, and he's actually winning to screw over the team he doesn't plan on coaching anymore, even though he should be tanking to get a good quarterback to continue coaching the team he coaches. Got it?
I do not believe that he is purposely trying to win games to screw the franchise over. I think as I say each and every week, guys are trying to win games. They don't try to lose. And it is a funny story, though, that he will leave and he has now cost them a chance at Drake May or Caleb Williams, which I know you love.
I'm just saying, the genius, Bill Belichick, the hoodie, Darth Vader himself outmaneuvered everyone again. What a brilliant mind he is.
Yes,
lose a whole bunch of games to then start winning them at the end in order to screw over the team that wants to fire.
He's a genius. Yeah, genius.
Yeah, genius.
Okay,
we talked about Stefanski and Flacco. You got anything else you want to say on them?
Heck of a job, man. It's incredible. They're playing good football.
Yeah. Are there a lot of guys who are better than the guy in front of them who just need to be playing more? Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett. They're guys, Joe Flacco, obviously. There are guys like that out there.
Well, Joe Flacco, I think, is an anomaly this year, the way he's playing. But Jacoby Brissett, what he is. And I think Washington was hoping that they'd figure out what Sam Howell is, and they have, and it's not very good.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, when you know what you have with those guys, there's not excitement to play them, right? Because you're trying to find someone else because you know what you have in Jacoby Brissett. He's playing exactly like he should be. But Washington was hoping that Sam Howell would take that next step and be their quarterback of the future.
Yeah. What do we think the Browns do in the offseason with the quarterback position? They go back into another year hoping Deshaun Watson is a different human?
Yes.
And they won't be.
They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice.
I have a big take theory on what they should do to clear themselves of that problem, but it's not for this podcast. Probably not for anything near a microphone. Let's shift gears a little to college ball. Your chance to dunk on Dion coming up here. If our notes are correct here, he only signed 6 high school recruits on National Signing Day last week, which is not enough if you want to be a national title contender like we all pretended he was. He still seems to think he can build his team through the portal. It worked once, but didn't get him a lot of wins. I know you think this is a flawed strategy. Please tell me why.
So, Gabe, I do this thing in sports where I look at like how successful things are done, and I say, you know what? I want to probably do that, right?
Mm.
So when I look at the top of the 24/7 rankings for college for recruiting, and I see the top of the rankings. That's basketball. Wrong one. Here we go. Team rankings. Okay. I go to all, and I see Georgia takes 28 commits, Alabama 25, Texas 23, Ohio State 21, Oregon 26, Oklahoma 28, Florida State 22, Notre Dame 23. You get my drift, right? Tennessee 21, Michigan 27. And then you see Colorado 6, and you think to yourself, the best teams build through high school ranks and then add additions through the portal as needed.
Mm-hmm.
In year one, yeah, you should build through the portal. Absolutely agree. But then year two, man, you got to start bringing your base. And here's the reason why. Coach Prime today tweeted this out. Just when I thought Santa was on his way back to North Pole, he dipped off. Santa, please drop another D tackle, cornerback, linebacker, one more pass rusher to the portal. Like, he's begging for players on Twitter because you can't be assured you're going to get a transfer portal player. You have to actually go in the portal to get in. You have to build up. You need to be able to say, look, man, we missed in the portal. Here's a young guy ready to play. His strategy appears to me like he's going to be there for this one more season and leave with the sun, because he's not recruiting in a way that makes me think he's there for the long term, which is fine if that's the case. But he's out here on Twitter asking for players to portal in the chance that he might be able to get them.
Yeah, I guess I wonder. Deion has been largely a source for good, right? He's been fun to talk about. He seems like a pretty good guy. At least this latest version of him seems like a very good guy. I think he's changing a lot of kids' lives, and maybe opening eyes for a lot of people. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be time to start asking, wait a sec, what's his end goal? Like, what's he doing here? Because if he's not doing anything to establish that he wants to build a team for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, like most good coaches suggest they want to do, yeah, what is the play? I don't want to call it a con, but it doesn't feel like a long play.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think the play is like, I'm there and my son leaves and I'm trying to find a new place to be. That's what I think. That's what I think the play is.
But his next move is the league, right? So what,
Is
Deion's
it?
going to go coach him in the league? Like, what are we talking about?
Is it in the league or is it in the SEC?
So you think they play one more year together in Colorado with a bunch of transfer portals and they get all the same attention they got last year, and maybe they go 7-6 or whatever the math is, and they impress some people and they win a couple of ranked games because they have enough talent to do it. You're saying they then leverage that to go take a Tennessee job or a Ole Miss job or
Florida?
whatever? Yeah,
Florida might be open. Yes.
That's what you think. And then they do one more year together with somebody else's roster and another sexy bunch of transfer portals.
I guess
that's where he stays.
What? Okay, I'm just curious. What would qualify him to be an NFL coach right now?
I'm not suggesting anything does. I'm just wondering, what?
And
when does he just
fair,
say, "All right, I'm here"?
Also fair that nothing qualified Cliff Kingsbury to be an NFL coach either. So it's like, so that's, I mean, it's.
And in his case, he wasn't even arguably the greatest football player of all time, which Deion is.
Absolutely.
Right?
So you think he's going to stay in Colorado?
I really have no idea. I'm just wondering, when his son is no longer part of the equation, is he just going to set up shop somewhere and be a coach and accept that not every year is exciting?
I don't have that answer. I have no idea. I wish I did. I have no idea.
Okay. Well, one of the places we all thought he might end up one day is now the epicenter of chaos in college football. Florida State, his alma mater. Stealing a joke from someone else, FSU is trying to hit the transfer portal themselves right now. They are suing the ACC to get out of the conference. I guess they believe that the conference held them back from the playoff appearance that they think they deserved. Many think they deserved. This is confusing for a lot of reasons. Can you please put on your lawyer hat and explain this suit to me and explain what ultimately comes out of them suing their own conference?
All right. So they're basically arguing that the contract they signed was under like false pretenses, or they were manipulating to sign it because it has a clause in there that in 2027 ESPN can just exercise like a 10-year extension of the grant of rights. What
Okay.
this is about is FOMO, fear of being left behind, right? Fear of missing out. Um, it's what I felt when Oregon wasn't in the Big Ten. You have these two big conferences, SEC, the Big Ten. Why am I not included in this? Oregon is everything they need to do. Why are they not in the Big Ten? Why are you not including Big Boy football? The ACC right now feels like it's below those two conferences, especially when you go 13-0 and don't make the playoff, right? You feel like, well, if I was 13-0 in the SEC, I would have made the playoff. So they want to be part of the Big Boys Club, and they have to find a way legally to get out of the grant of rights to do this. So they sued. ACC sued them back. So they're in the tit for tat right now. ACC wants this case to be held in North Carolina. Florida wants this case to be held in Florida State. Florida State, obviously in Florida. That's a big dispute they're having right now. What I think happens in the end, Gabe, is there's a settlement. Florida State pays a penalty and they leave and they join the SEC conference, whoever wants to take them. And that happens with Miami and with North Carolina. Like the ACC, sort of like the Pac-12, becomes a little more obsolete, and we move to either 3 power conferences with the Big 12 eating up everyone else, or 2 major conferences and the Big 12 is just sort of surviving by themselves. Because not everyone's going to want to go to the ACC. Not everyone in the Big 10 or the SEC will want to gobble those ACC schools up. So leftover schools are probably just playing the Big 12, and you'll have the Big 12, you have a big Big 10 and a big SEC is what I think might end up happening.
Okay. So the legal side of this is just a step and not one we need to learn a lot about. I guess it's hard. I can imagine for people in Florida, Florida State fans specifically, it's hard to take this lesson. But I mean, on balance, they're not as good a team as those other teams, but they were excluded because they lost their quarterback. So it's
Correct.
actually still a more likely path to the championship to be the most dominant team in the ACC, at least for another few years, than to become like the 10th best team in a massive conference and have to fight and claw your way, to winning a conference championship with one loss. Like, shouldn't they just accept reality here and stay where they are and have an easy road most years? That's what Clemson did.
Yeah, but when you're when you're feeling like you're being left behind, which they certainly feels like they are, I don't think that matters anymore. Like, you want to be in the big boys club. The same arguments for Oregon, right? You could have stayed out west in the Pac-12 and just sort of dominated the conference, but you don't get any respect. You don't get the same money. Like that, it's all of that. You go to the big boy conference, you get the respect, Gabe, right? You're part of the club, and then eventually you make more money, right? Oregon and Washington are getting full shares in like 5 years, so that's why Florida State wants out.
I hear you. I just, as a more casual than you, I don't actually think that's how it works for a lot of people. I don't have any respect for Missouri football,
bro. But it's not up to me.
They
and
had
you.
a great year.
It's not up to me and you. It's up to, if this was about me and you, the Pac-12 would still be the Pac-12.
Yeah.
It's not up to us. It's up to the TV brokers. It's your friends. You know these people. You're best friends with them.
Yeah.
You go to their holiday parties.
Mm.
Like you go to, you get drinks with these
you think
guys.
It's my
you tell
fault.
me.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you just tell me.
So I'll just pour some eggnog and say, hey, fellas, what are we doing here?
Do you know how many times I've talked to the people at Fox that make these decisions? 0 times. Sometimes you've talked to them? Countless.
Don't put this on me. I got nothing to do with this.
You know what? And you're a USC guy. You and Silverman been plotting together, haven't you?
Just get out of here.
Get out of plotting. Is he a USC alum too?
I don't know. I'm not going there.
I just threw out one guy at Fox. Mark seems great. I met him one time. He just seems, he's the one everyone just talks about as like the guy who did this, even though it probably isn't his fault.
I honestly have no idea. I'm not even being coy.
I'm just giving you shit.
But, all right, so let's transition from one thing that makes me squirm to one thing that makes me squirm for a different reason, which is Jets football. I still in my life have people who I don't see as often come up to me and like start a conversation with like, hey man, sorry about those Jets. And then I have to tell them like, don't say sorry to me. I ditched their asses years ago. I hate those guys. But,
Um,
I'll fall for it again coming into next season when Rodgers is healthy and Salah is hopefully still there. It seems the ownership wants to keep him. The Jets are bad in all the bad ways. Like, they're not going to get a good pick, but nobody takes them seriously. And yet they play a team just like themselves who are on the other side of that. They're like bad but good in the Browns. So how's this work? And then give me some picks for this Thursday night.
well, the Jets keeping Rodgers on the roster. So it's funny. The report came out on Friday that Rodgers led the scout team in a spirited practice
Yeah.
against and then I watched the fourth quarter of that Washington Commanders game. I said, "Oh, where's the spirit at now?" As Jacoby Brissett just marched up and down the field, like the NFL media tripping over themselves to report on Rodgers stuff. It blows my mind. It's insane that he's on the roster right now. He's not playing. He's taking reps away from players that actually have to prepare to play games this season. It's just not how most places would operate at all. He could still be out there and not practice. Like, he could stand out there as an injured reserve guy. Doesn't have to be inside. It is what it is, man. I just don't have faith this organization sort of operates in a way that wins. Like, next year, that's it. This is it. It's a 1 year for them, Gabe, to make this work. And this is a year when you had the Bills aren't as good, the Bengals are hurt, the Chiefs aren't as good. What happens next year when all those teams are good again? Like, this is a year to do it, and Rodgers got hurt, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then give me a play for a Thursday night, because they're playing that Browns team. We already agreed might have coach of the year. Flacco's playing ball. What are we doing?
It's a tad early in the week, so unfortunately,
I know.
We got. But look, we won last week. We were 3 for 3 last week. Remember, so go to Prize Picks, use promo code GSSY, $100 match deposit, pick 2 to 6 players, and again, get this closer to game time. Get some good numbers on some of these guys. Here's what we're doing right now. Greg Zuerlein, the kicker for the Jets, little beat up though, but I think he's going to play more than 1.5 field goals made. Browns defense, number 1 in the NFL in DVOA. Jets can move the ball at times. They're going to have to take a lot of field goals. So I'm going with field goals here. And we're going to fade Amari Cooper off the best game of his career, best game of any Browns receiver ever. And we're going to go less than 55.5 receiving yards. So Greg Zuerlein more than 1.5 field goals made. Amari Cooper less than 55.5 receiving yards. That's my Prize Pick square early in the week for Thursday Night Football.
I like putting those two together. That situationally, I could see Zuerlein getting several tries. I mean, he could even miss a couple and still get you more than 1.5. And Cooper, it's funny. Every other year, he has some record, 200 plus receiving yards or 15 catches. And I feel like an Amari Cooper receiving record happens every now and then he disappears again for a long time. You're just sort of counting on that pattern.
I am absolutely counting that. I'm counting the Jets saying, you know what? You're not going to beat us. And they have a good defense, and they're going to say, you know what? You're just not going to beat us today. And we're taking this away from you.
Yeah, it also does seem like that's really all they have to play for is like individual matchups and pride on defense. So, okay, I like that play. I normally like to challenge you a little. That one seems smart.
I know. I was 3 for 3 last week, though. I didn't get in 3 for 3. There we go. I like it. All right, guys. We'll talk to you guys on Friday. Gabe, 43 and 30 and 6, 59% still. Or no, 44, 30 and 6, 44, 30 and 6. Another winning week for us. So come back on Friday for that. I hope you guys had a great holiday again. Please rate, review, subscribe. We'll talk to you guys on Friday. Have a good one, everyone.